Okay, I think that we can get started, and thank you all and welcome for thanks for joining us this afternoon. We're really excited to that Ifeoma Onyebuchi from the program director from Procurement Monitor in Nigeria has joined us. So thank you, Ifeoma, for joining. We're going to start, as we often do, with a brief round of introductions. So I think we can get through many who are on. Often we do just a call out, and then we'll land with Ifeoma. So I'll just introduce myself, Catherine Townsend. I'm a co-founder of Open Data Collaboratives, a branch of which is Africa Open Data Collaboratives, which works to educate, connect, and form partnerships with civil society, with governments, with larger and small organizations to open data and collaborate on better prosperity and transparency for all. So I'm really glad that you're joining us here today. And just going down the list, I will turn it over to Jean. And now it's really my pleasure to turn it over to Ifeoma. Thank you all for introducing yourselves so that she has a sense of the interest and the skill set where everyone is at, so that she can tell us all about Budeshi and how to get involved in civic tech and how to sustain a civic tech movement so that it is really long-term and works directly with government. It's very impressive. So I turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Kat. It's really, really a pleasure to join everyone here. It's so refreshing listening, hearing, where people are from, different countries of the world. I'm so happy that we have in this call open data and open data and data enthusiasts. So it's really so refreshing to hear you all talk about your areas of interest you want to learn and share. So say that I'm also here to learn and also to share from the good work we've done here in Nigeria, coalition of civil societies, at which some of you of the world has also contributed to in the advocacy that we eventually did that led to the policy shifts we had in Nigeria around open contracting. So Catherine, I don't know if I have to share my slide.
You're welcome to. I can also share for you if it starts to chop up your voice. I just want to make sure everybody can hear you. So if the internet connection gets choppy, feel free to send me the slides and I can share them.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So my name is Ifeoma Onyebuchi. I work for the Public and Private Development Center, PPDC. So PPDC is a Nigerian civic society organization. And for the past 10 years, PPDC has worked on issues around access to information, open contracting, procurement reforms, anti-corruption issues. And it's really, that process for us holds a whole lot of lessons for us as an organization, seeing where we started, just campaigning for a change in the system, just campaigning for something to happen around how Nigeria manages its contracting, and how that whole thing moved from just activism to advancing and supporting government and advocacy around system change, improvement, and how we also manage our public procurement in Nigeria. So that process really transformed how we engage with government, how we even engage with other civil societies in the space, and how we share lessons and our stories. And just to also say that Nigeria has a public procurement law 2007, which is currently being reviewed by the National Assembly. And from the time that the law was enacted in 2007, PPDC and other civil societies in Nigeria, started identifying the loops in the law around what Nigeria calls classified information, how they release data, and even the issues, incoherences with the data that are being released for the public. And with that issue and the gaps we noticed, we started, having conversations around how do we have a legal framework that can allow, unrestricted access of people to to procurement related information and other categories of information that the government, holds. And that also led us to, the Nigerian having a freedom of information law in 2011. And it was a beautiful thing for us because it gave us, it actually addressed some of the issues we saw using the Public Procurement Act, especially people having access to information, having a legislative framework that has timeliness, address the issue around timeliness, the quality of data that are being put out by the public agencies, and how, the relationship between how we request for this information and how the people that we request for this information release the data to us. And for us at PPDC, I think we were so happy when the law came into being, because that cuts across, that's actually the nexus of what we do at PPDC, using data to do contract monitoring and investigations on public procurement and also the capital projects that are being delivered in Nigeria. And just to also say that Nigeria as a country has had, long years of, distrust, things around illicit financial flows, and other procurement inadequacies, which, by the way, also led to the enactment of the Public Procurement Act in 2007. And for us, the FOI Act, was a breaking point for us, because it gave us access to start requesting for a higher volume of information that we never had access to prior to 2011. So it was really a beautiful thing for us. But also it had its own demerit too, right? Because when the FOI came into being, we realized that we can actually do a lot with the tool. It made us powerful in a way, other civil societies inclusive. It made us powerful in a way. But also for us at PPDC, we realized that we began to collect lots of data. So we've always been saying, government, release your information. And Nigeria has over 200 million people. And we want everybody to have access to government information, to make sure there's a wider stakeholder analysis of the procurement information, analysis of that are being procured by just to be sure that is in line with the specifications that have been procured for. And by the time we started collecting high volumes of information and data, we technically saw ourselves as another public institute, because what that meant for us is, if you come to our office, you will see lots of information. And we just want to make sure that we are utilizing the act, that the government agencies are releasing this information and everybody has access to it. But at the same time too, we are also having lots of information that are just stacked out there on our shelves. And looking at it is almost like you're having access to this information and it's not widely disseminated for people to use. And we started also mobilizing other civil society organizations and youth within the community we serve. We train them on contract monitoring. I'm the data to start doing contract monitoring within the communities, local communities, and also at the state level. But it wasn't even enough at that. It was 2015. And they always come back to us, and this is just, a background before I go into my presentation. So they always come back to us to say that, we have all this information, but they still don't make sense. And one of the recurring examples we kept seeing was the budget information, always different from the contractual information. Now, Nigeria, as at that time, the fiscal year wasn't static. It was fluid. It wasn't, it just runs the way it wants to run, so to say. So you can't even say you want to monitor a particular fiscal year. It's very difficult for you to do that. And then when you have access to the data also, the budget information for a particular budget line can have another amount. It can just have another name too. Then by the time you get to the core implementation where the school or the hospital has been built, the name changes from renovation to construction. And then the budget amount and the contractual amount typically changes. And then at some point, one of the other difficult things we found out was that when you also get to the field, to the site where the may not find it because apparently the community has told the government, the procuring entity, that we don't need this school here. We need a bridge or something. And then the money cannot just be returned because the contract has already been awarded and the contractor has been mobilized with fees to go ahead with the contract. So he just moves it to another location. But then as civil society, we are not sure because there is no central platform where they can publish for the public to see. And Nigeria is a very big country. So where is the money? So we don't assuming that probably the money has been returned and we don't know. And that for us was one of the biggest red flags we noticed as at then, just using data manually. But then the FOI Act has been in existence for like 4 to 5 years. And a huge opportunity came for us to start advocating for Nigeria to have an open content data standards. You know, looking at how Nigeria, the procuring entities and the ministries has run over the past 4 years since the act came into being. We thought that is right, at the time was right for us as a country to have a more sophisticated system that can allow wider stakeholder access to information and analysis of the projects that are being implemented across different parts of the country. And that's what led us to Budeshi. So Budeshi for us, Budeshi means open it, is a local language, is an Hausa language, one of Nigeria's languages. So it just means open it. Catherine, I don't think the slide is still showing or something.
It's up. I just, will you let me know which slide number you would like me to move to? I want to just make sure I'm following also the presentation, but let me know if you can see it now.
Perfect. Thank you so much. We should go to the 5th slide.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. So as at then, we just wanted a system where, people can have wider access to information, and that it's a system that can actually link budget to contract to award all the stages across the value chain of contract of our public procurement. And we knew that using manual data. And as at the time, from my experiences, we kept hearing when we request for this information, people tell us that, oh, we don't have all this replication of this data you're always requesting in a budget, in an annual budget. So it was even, it has a huge administrative burden on the agencies that kept replicating the data. And we thought, okay, we have all these multiple problems out there. Why don't we have a uniform system that can actually link stages across the contractual value chain so people can have access to it? You will have this issue of burden you're always complaining about solved, but you also as the government, can help. You can also see where the monies are in and which project that needs your attention at each given point in time. So that was actually started as case of open contracting in Nigeria. And that was also with support with open contracting partnership as at 2015. So that's how we started the advocacy. We started reaching out to regulators, to procurement professionals and government agencies. And honestly, it wasn't really a very easy process for us, given that would be the first contracting an open data system for managing procurement in Nigeria. So it was a very difficult thing. Speak government agencies who are literally doing things manually, and you want to just bring it to them overnight. So there were lots of pushback at the time. But we were also lucky because that was the time the new administration came into power. And they saw this and said, oh, this is actually what we think we need at this time to address issue around corruption, because Nigeria has really suffered from illicit financial flow, majorly due to sharp corrupt practices that happen around public procurement. And luckily for us, it fed into the president's commitment at the 2016 London Anti-Corruption Summit. And it was really a very big success for us at that time. So like I said, Budeshi was just a dedicated web platform, the stages and the procurement and budget value chain across different project that needs to be delivered. And the processes we actually took was first, we received the responses and computing, all and doing demonstrations, going to the sites and actually looking at how the data speaks to the eventual service delivery. And that was what we just used that eventually led to the policy shift. And I'll just go to the 8th slide now. Really amazing to see, what led to, because after the advocacy, of course, we're a civil society organization and we needed not a political commitment, not just the commitment that was made, but an action by government to back that commitment. And for us, it was for government to have its own open contracting portal. So back to Nigeria, we had the Bureau of Public Procurement, which currently exists. And BPP, the Bureau of Procurement, is responsible for organizing policies and everything around managing procurement in Nigeria. And BPP took this up as a regulator of public procurement in Nigeria and followed it up with developing the own contracting portal, which was the first Nigeria has ever had. And I think it was also beautiful because that was, at the same time, was also up the open government partnership. And I could say that that also facilitated the whole conversation for us, having the civil societies who advocated for this and other, civil societies who work around these areas to be part of the team that supports government to develop the portal. So for us, it was really amazing that we had OGP at that particular time and was able to harmonize our steps and also determine what we want to work at that particular time. So if you look at Nigeria's first National Action Plan, open contracting was a highlight of that action plan. From the first action plan to the second action plan, open contracting continued being a huge highlight of that portal. So what we have here is also a screenshot of the open contracting portal, which we call NOCOPO. Just go slide. And for us, so processes, the steps we took, and the lessons we learned, I think it was really magical because moving from activism to organizing systems for real change in Nigeria, for us as at PPDC was really, mind-blowing. It was really awesome and amazing. And one of the things, the steps we actually took was, pushing for adoption in Nigeria, and also developing sustainable and inclusive tools for engaging policy and service providers, and also connecting local to national accountability processes like local input to audit. So please, can we go to the next slide? Slide 10, yes. And so when we started off in 2017, that was when the first beta stage of the Nigerians open portal was built. One of the key lessons using the portal and also seeing how, and also maybe drawing from lessons from all the monitorings we've done over the years. Contract implementation happens in Nigeria, the actions and the issues we've noticed as at 2017. We thought that the breaking ground for this will be how to move this initiative to the local level, especially at the state level. Now, Nigeria, probably also because of our, operated system of government, state government needs to implement independently from the government. And it was a huge task for advocacy at the federal level. All the lessons and all the push for us was, how do we start, driving another set of advocacy independently to over 36 state governments in Nigeria? What is actually going to facilitate this conversation, make this easier for us? And one of the things we did was use the same civil societies within the umbrella of the OGP. So we started training them. We have lots of, Nigeria has a very viable community of, open data users, investigative journalists, and also civic groups who work around public accountability at different levels of the country. So what we did is start building a community of open data enthusiasts who want to use data, who really care about, more like a concerned civic group. And we built it, we call it Procurement Monitoring Working Group. And their role just to move from just monitoring contracting process, attending bid openings, but actually using the data that Budeshi publishes. And some of the use cases we had as at then, just using Budeshi, facilitated conversation with their state government. So, I think one of the things that state government is not just being transparent, but the resources that come to us are better managed. And we know that we are providing a level playing for contracts, and then that more contractors that the society does is to frame conversation and in a way that secure the political bind before we go into supporting them, giving them technical support to deploy the portal. And for us, it was showing use cases of how the trained journalist has uncovered issues around contract that was awarded to a particular contractor but was not delivered, and they never had any idea of this. And it was something that really, of course, resonates with them too, because they already have monitoring team that goes to these communities, but there's always this disparity between what actually exists on ground and what is being reported when this team come. So to some of them, it's like, oh, we've actually finished building this project and it's existing, but then a report we are bringing is showing that you actually awarded this project, but they are actually not existing. And many of you are under lock and key, because the contract has actually been, which is actually true. It's under lock and key because probably it wasn't really mobilized fully, or probably because the community doesn't think this is fit for them at a particular time, or they thought that a proper assessment was not conducted for that project. So there were lots of issues coming out from some of the projects. And as of 2018, like 40% of the facts we monitored that had the same issues of funds utilized, but doesn't really lead to 100% implementation of what the project was supposed to be, or contract fully implemented is not in use because it's not even accessible to people. And then taking a toll of all these things, it was totaling to millions. And then when people come to report, oh, we've built this, they don't even have an idea that some of these things are there, but they're not in use. So those were some of the issues that we had, and those were also the things that the civic groups and investigative journalists use cases to, to frame their conversation and also speak to their state government on why they should have an open contracting to monitor, how this projects are being delivered across different states in Nigeria. And that also led us to, going to the state level. And we have since worked with about 7 states. We have Adamawa, some of the states that I have on the screen. And one of the beautiful things and also building blocks for this was having the ongoing World Bank CEFTAS program. It was like a big push. The program was launched 2 years ago. And initially what we were trying to convince the state government that this is actually what you need to improve procurement efficiency and value for money being spent. It wasn't also very easy because so to say, there's no really, even though there's, there's some sort of incentive, there's no financial incentive attached to it. So the World Bank program was really very ideal to cover that loop of financial incentive that could motivate more people more state government to sign up to open contracting. And as 3 of the states we supported for the past 1 year, we are also has already assessed the grants for the SEFTAS program. And yes, if we could just go to the next slide, please. Thank you. That's the 12th slide. Awesome. So lessons and adaptations. Lessons and adaptations. It was really, it was a beautiful experience for us that allowed body wherever you ask for us to be Nigerian or you care about what is going on in Nigeria, to just have access to how much is being budgeted and being awarded and also being implemented and what the services actually looks like. It was really a big lesson for us, an amazing lesson for us. But again, I think we learned a lot on how we actually moved from just looking for efficient procurement, but also to other things. And one of the things we learned was that open contracting actually paved way for other fiscal reforms, especially at the state level. So we have some of the states, like 2 of the states we worked with, who said, yes, we were able to navigate this. We never knew that this could, even though it's not so simple, considering that many of the states we worked at, can actually be defined as low-tech communities. There are lots of challenges, internet penetration, other technical capacity that is required for them to actually manage the system. But once they were able to navigate those challenges, they found out that there are actually more gains to this. And this began to lead to other conversations around how do we start improving our budgeting system and link it to the open contracting portal and also our tax systems and all other fiscal systems within the state, like open budgeting, their tax and also procurement, of course. And also the beneficial ownership conversation. Not really many of them has done that, but hopefully under the umbrella of their SIFTA's commitment, we are seeing more states go beyond just procurement management, but other management of data system, just to improve access, citizens' access to this information and better management of the data they have at the time. And also, one of the things we also learned was that beyond just, just improving transparency, accountability, which is almost what everybody wants to see as a government, they want to improve a whole lot of things. So, and some of the state, it became too cumbersome for them because it's a whole lot of things, but working within open contracting and the support we provided to them enabled them to say, oh, as a government, we know we want to do all this, but for this phase, we just want to improve competitiveness, right? And the whole support and conversation with them is just to focus on that impact goal and the thing they actually want to achieve for that. So it also make the process seamless and also very simple for them. Yes, Catherine, please, we can go to the next one. Yeah, so this is actually, thank you so much, social impact stories. This is actually one of the most encouraging things we started seeing, just beyond management of procurement system and how information flows across the departments within the agencies. But actually, how has the data improved the lives of the people who, who wants their life to be improved? So it was really difficult for us connecting. So how would data improve your life? And that's one of the stories that people keep asking us, even the civil societies and the journalists. How do we start framing the conversation and connecting, the data that we use to how it actually impacts the social welfare and the lives of the community? And the use of data actually made this very visible for us because we started seeing the use of data, just using the data, running with a particular budget line, and then going to the field to investigate, and then all the advocacy and campaign, because it actually kind of streamlined the advocacy we do, right? So we run with the data, and then we investigate investigate how the data, how the budget was actually translated to the project it was, intended to deliver, and also looking at the specification, was it fit? Were there needs assessment conducted in the community, and what actually are the impacts of that project on the lives of the community? And wherever we noticed gaps, it formed the advocacy point that we use to engage the procuring entities, and of which many of them don't actually, know that this actually happens at that local level. So it was really an eye-opener for all of them, seeing, how this feedback, evidence-based feedback, helps them to improve their policy decisions and how they respond to these issues. And we had use cases of, secondary school that was built in a community. This actually happened in 2018. It was just a school, and we just went there to monitor the school. And upon monitoring, we found out that even though the project was constructed, the school was not fenced, and it's a girls' school. It was actually a female school. And after interviewing the pupils, we noticed that from their conversation and feedback that they're not really comfortable attending the school because they have intruders. They have people who come into the school and do all sort of things. And they probably don't have other choices because that's the only school closer to their community. And we started speaking to the procuring entity on, regarding the unfitness of that project in that community, given all the issues that we noticed. So having the portal and open contracting enabled us to venture and talk about other different things beyond just, the particular project that was implemented, but other issues surrounding the project. We also had other use cases of Burutu. Burutu was one of the first case studies that we really advocated for passionately, because it was a very big community, but in the riverine area of Delta State. And that was the only primary healthcare center in that community. So it was so bad that, women decide to either using them, they resort to other traditional methods of giving birth. And in doing so, they also some of them lose their infants, their unborn babies to that practice. So it was really a very awful case study for us. And getting to the community, we saw this. It was also one of the projects that we monitored as at then. We took this up. We did a very huge media campaign on the project. We started speaking to the community, the legislative, the community's legislators, and brought it up to Abuja, started, going to radios, talking about this. And just a few months later, and even though the advocacy and the campaign continued, we had to just move to the next thing to talk about. And a few months later, we got a call that the hospital has been rebuilt of the advocacy. We have other use cases that, that we have to share. Okay, Catherine, please. Yeah, so this is also one of them. Some of the, so yeah, I have images of the projects we intervened and how they were fixed. So we have the Burutu case, we have the fence. Yes, we have also, so we have the Burutu case here. We have the classrooms. We have, the things that I talked about, and, how we just took the advocacy and then eventually led to government intervening. And in some cases, it's actually not the government coming back to the field. Sometimes, especially in Kaduna was one of the states we actually walked in. And what we saw where, the contractor just sees this on social media, and without anybody calling on him, he just goes back. So we just have the community calling us to say, oh, somebody is back. Somebody has just come with all this equipment and they've started, fixing the roads or the schools or the hospitals. And actually, that's what we wanted to do. We want, where, a system where we don't even need to, to start coming to you. You just see this, and you know that there's actually a watchdog system that, flags all these things up, and you can actually be found wherever you are. And then you have no option than to go back to the field to continue the work. And we could just go to challenges. Yes, thank you. Yes, challenges is fine.
And just, I know we're almost to our time, and we do have some people who may want to ask questions. So.
Oh, okay, so I'll just take this one and then we could just stop. So this is actually some of the challenges we noticed we had actually, and working with governments. Most of the work we did was actually with government, supporting government, and the timeline, the bureaucracies, and also securing political buy-in. Securing it, beyond securing it, but also sustaining it was really a difficult thing for us. And another thing was also working in a low-tech, environment, and also being able to change perception, the behavioral change, letting people know that this is actually for us, and also letting the government, also working with the government to also understand that this is also part of the reform goal they want to achieve. That convincing was, was very critical and key in what we wanted to drive. And also, of course, building trust and partnerships. So I think this is the last, and thank you so much. I'm happy to take any questions or provide clarifications. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Ifeoma. That was a great presentation, and I learned a ton about the work that you're doing, and I really appreciate how you synthesized into specific barriers and lessons learned that for sure applies for procurement monitoring, but a lot of other kinds of work with government.